All right, good evening, everybody. My name is Kevin Ezel, and I'm the Senior Director of Graduate Recruitment for Lehigh University. And I just want to welcome everybody and thank you for taking some time out of your schedule to meet with us today as we talk a little bit about our full-time MBA program as well as our specialized master's program. I'm joined here with a colleague, so I want to make sure I introduce her as well too. Allison, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, my name is Allison Toth. I am the graduate recruiter for all the specialty master's programs here in the College of Business, and I'm excited for you all to join us today and sharing this journey with you.
Thanks, Allison. So yeah, we have a good event planned for everybody today. We're lucky enough that one of our full-time MBA students found a little bit of time out of her schedule to be able to speak with us today. And I know she has a final tomorrow, so I'm going to make sure we kind of get to her very early on. But a little bit about what we're going to cover today. I always tell students, especially you all, prospective MBA and specialized master students who are kind of starting their search to figure out what type of business program and what type of business school is going to make the most sense for me. When you look at your screen right now, at the lower left, you're going to see that AACSB accredited logo. That is an extremely important thing when you're starting to look at graduate business programs around the world. Less than 5% of business schools around the world have the AACSB accreditation. And we don't expect you to be accreditation experts, but what I always tell people is the two most important components with an AACSB accreditation is number one, that it holds us to a very high standard as far as the faculty that we hire, that they're experts, subject matter experts in their area. And also from an employer standpoint, there's many employers specifically here in the United States that are very focused on recruiting from AACSB accredited schools. So there's kind of a double bonus when we talk about when you're doing your search looking at an AACSB accredited school, which again, Lehigh University is. So what we're going to do today, I have a quick agenda that we're going to cover here in the next hour or so together. We're going to, number one, talk a little bit about Lehigh University. My understanding, I think a lot of you maybe heard about Lehigh on social media. We had some posts on social media that got a lot of attention regarding scholarship opportunities, as well as no application fee for our graduate programs. And we're thankful again that you're spending time with us tonight. But we're going to cover kind of an overview, a little bit about Lehigh University from a university perspective. You're going to get to meet one of our current 1MBA students, who again is excited that she's able to join us. And then we're going to do a very quick overview of all of the different programs that we offer here. We'll then follow up with general application materials, as well as English language proficiency requirements, which we've made some changes to that to be a little bit more flexible. And then we'll also talk about scholarships and closing thoughts. The other thing I'm going to mention to you is that through this presentation, you all should be able to see a chat box down probably wherever it is on your screen. On mine, it's on the lower right-hand screen. But that'll give you the opportunity to kind of ask us questions, and we'll definitely try to get to as many questions as we can throughout this. So with that being said, let me start with kind of a general overview of Lehigh University. Some of you may be familiar with it, others may not be. Here in the United States, if you're not familiar with Lehigh, Lehigh University is considered a top 50 university. When you look at US News and World Report, which is typically where a lot of people start their search and looking at universities, Lehigh is normally right around the 50th ranked university in the United States. So it's a very strong institution. It's very well known within the United States, as well as known internationally as well too. And an important thing when you start to do your search for graduate school is you have to factor in a lot of different things, right? Program fit, university fit, where you want to study geographically. And you can see it's a small map here of kind of the eastern part of the United States. So Lehigh University is located in a small city called Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. We're known as the Christmas City. It's a city that dates back to the 1700s. It's a historical city for a number of reasons. And most importantly, when you look at graduate school, we're not a big city, nor do we pretend to be a big city, but we have access to large metropolitan areas. So the value is that if you're studying here at Lehigh University, your cost of living is going to be less than obviously if you're in New York City or if you're in Philadelphia or Washington, D.C. But you can see that you have very easy access to those cities. So there you can see we're 136 kilometers from New York City, 91 kilometers from Philadelphia, and 291 kilometers from Washington, D.C. So, within easily, you can get to Manhattan in 90 minutes, you can get to Philadelphia in about 60 minutes. But again, you're in a safe city here in Pennsylvania, the state that we're in. The area, our general area, is called the Lehigh Valley. We're actually the 65th largest metropolitan area in the United States. So sometimes, obviously, it may not be on your radar because we're not New York City or Los Angeles or Chicago, but at the same time, we're not a small area by any means. And recent economic data actually showed that we're the #2 city in the United States when you look at mid-sized markets. That's from 200,000 to 1 million people for economic development projects. And a lot of that, again, is based because where we are situated here on the East Coast. We're also the fastest growing region in Pennsylvania for 18 to 34-year-old age group, which some of you may fall into that age group as you're typically looking for. That's an age that's usually common looking for a graduate program. So again, I encourage you to do more research on Lehigh on that, but we wanted to give you kind of a little bit of a general overview of kind of where we are located. I also want to talk about some connections to Africa because I think the majority of you are here from Africa today. And we do have some relationships and we have great representation from students across the continent. So number one, I'll mention that Lehigh University is one of a select number of schools that has been chosen as an institute partner for the Mandela Washington Fellowship for Young African Leaders. This is actually sponsored by the U.S. Department of State. And we actually had those students on our campus the last couple of weeks. And it's a great program. It's been here for 3 or 4 years. In addition to that, I don't have it listed here, but we have what's called a Global Village program that brings students from all over the world, from all the different continents, here to Lehigh for kind of a non-credit, non-degree experience over the summer, working with a lot of different business leaders. And there is great representation from Africa in that program. And then we also have a Lehigh Africa Business Club. And again, these are just a couple examples. And I also wanted to include, when you look at our overall student body, you can see representation from, again, a number of different countries on the African continent. So it's important for us to mention that Lehigh is a very diverse university. It's very welcoming to students from across the world as a destination for them to pursue their MBA or specialized master's degree. So at this point, before we start to get into our particular programs, Priscilla, are you still with us?
Hi, Kevin, I'm here.
Okay, fantastic. So I'm excited to introduce you to Priscilla Asan, who is a current 1-year MBA student. We're going to talk about One MBA, which is our full-time MBA program. And I told Priscilla, I said, I know you're super busy. She has a statistics final tomorrow, but she took a couple minutes of her time to talk to us today. So Priscilla, why don't you get started? And I'd love to just maybe have you talk a little bit about your educational background as well as your professional.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Priscilla Asan. I'm a Ghanaian, but I'm currently part of the 1-year MBA program. So for my educational background, my undergraduate was in business administration. I specialized in accounting, but I had my undergraduate in Ghana. And after my undergraduate program, I had the opportunity to work for two different construction firms. One of them, I was working as an administrator. Then from there, I moved to another construction company where I worked as a coordinator. So I worked for about 3 years in Ghana. Then I had the opportunity to do an MSc in International Economics and Finance in Italy. So then I moved to Italy, did my master's, and after the master's, I had the opportunity to work in an accounting firm in Malta. So I moved to Malta and worked there. And there I was working as a corporate executive and also as an assistant anti-money laundering officer. So I worked there for 2 years, and I started researching because I wanted to move into companies like financial technology companies. I wanted to, because my long-term goal is to be a financial analyst. So I started researching, and here I am at Lehigh University in the one-year MBA program. So that's just a little something about my background, my educational and professional background.
Thanks, Priscilla. And let me ask you a couple other questions. So obviously this group is prospective students that maybe are hearing about Lehigh for the first time. Tell us a little bit about your MBA search. Like, were you specifically looking for one-year MBA programs or two-year MBA programs? And how did you come about Lehigh?
Okay, Kevin, I'm not gonna lie that I also searched for schools that were kind of like when you attend their information session, you get free application waiver, you know? So yeah, but I was mostly looking for one-year MBA programs, and also I was mainly focused on their curriculum, you know? And when I attended the information session, I was really impressed by the one-year MBA program, because if I could get the same value I'm gonna get in one-year MBA program, why I do 2 years, you know? So I was really impressed by the rigorous curriculum and how the MBA program shapes you as a professional. So mostly I was first looking at MBA programs that had business analytics, because that was my focus. Then I also narrowed it down to one-year MBA programs, and considering the whole curriculum and the programs that were involved, Lehigh University was top of my list.
Thanks, Priscilla. And we didn't pay her to say that, just so everybody.
For sure, he didn't.
So just one or two other questions for you, and then I'll let you go. So, you know, as somebody that's gone through this journey, kind of looking at different schools, looking at different MBA programs, what advice would you give to prospective students, specifically students from Africa who, again, may not be familiar with Lehigh? What advice would you give them as far as their potential search goes to find a program that makes sense for them?
Okay, first of all, what I would suggest, using my own experience, would be, first of all, you have to define your purpose, like what you really want to do after the MBA program, and looking at your experiences that you've had over the years. So first of all, your purpose. One thing I can say is that the MBA program, it's a big thing here in the US, and every program tailors their MBA program in various ways. For instance, for Lehigh University, I was really drawn to, first of all, the curriculum, and also they have this option where they connect you to a mentor, a career coach, and an individual in the faculty to help you in your career. So I've just been here for like barely 5 weeks, you know, but already I've spoken with my mentor. He's already guiding me on things to look out for in the American system, in the job market. I've already connected with my career coach, who is also helping me, you know, shaping me how to present myself as a professional, my resume. So basically, first of all, you have to define your purpose, what you really want to achieve after the MBA program, and that will guide you in making that decision. And you have to also prepare your mind mentally, because the MBA program is really, it's a one-year program, so it's very intense. So when you are making your decision, you have to consider that as well, because it's 1 year and it's very intense. You may not have the opportunity to work on campus. So when you are coming, you have to prepare your mind that I may not be able to work for 1 year. So financially, you have to prepare yourself. And yeah, so basically, those are the two things. First, define your purpose, what you really want to achieve after the MBA program. And one thing about the MBA program here is that it's a STEM designated program. So after the program, you have the opportunity to extend the OPT. Kevin will explain more about that later.
Yes, that's great, Priscilla. And thank you, that's super helpful. I just have one other question for you. So as you mentioned, you've been here for about 5 or 6 weeks. You probably haven't had a whole lot of time to explore Bethlehem yet, but could you talk a little bit maybe just about your impressions of campus, kind of I know it's summer here right now, so it's a little bit slow, and all of our 8,000 students will be coming back in a few weeks, but any initial first impressions about the Lehigh campus or the general area that we're in?
Yeah. So I saw the pictures from I just saw the pictures of the campus and everything, but I can assure you that it's 100 times more beautiful. Like, it's very peaceful. Personally, I like peaceful communities, so it's beautiful. The campus is very beautiful. There's a lot of greenery here, and on campus we have access to free bars. The gym, we have access to it using our student ID card. So for the campus, it's beautiful and it's been great so far. I haven't had the chance to explore a lot of places, as Kevin has already said, but generally it is a very peaceful and quiet campus so far, because the undergraduates haven't come onto the campus yet.
Perfect. And Priscilla, one last question. I hope you don't mind, but I stole your picture off your LinkedIn profile. Can you tell the students maybe a little bit about kind of what that picture is and what that experience was like?
Right. So we have this course that we do, which is societal shifts. So basically, it's about the changes that are happening in the world right now with technology, big data, etc. So as part of the program, the professor took us to UN, where we explored, we had the opportunity to explore the whole of UN. They explained the various divisions and what they do to us. And this particular experience have been eye-opening. I mean, I've heard of UN, but getting there and having the opportunity to listen to them speak to us about their plans, about the plans they have and things they are currently doing was really, really amazing.
Thanks, Priscilla. And one more question. Are you all ready for your statistics final tomorrow? Or is that what the rest of your day looks like?
Kevin, I'm not gonna lie. I'm actually sweating because the statistics is really, really, really tough. Like, it's a lot of materials to cover, but our lecturer has given us some guidelines on, what to focus on and stuff. So yeah, I'm just trying to focus on those things and prepare for the exams tomorrow.
I'm sure you'll be more than fine. So I'm going to let you go because I don't want to take up any more of your time. But Priscilla, thanks again. Really appreciate you hopping on this webinar. And I think you really teed the whole thing up very nicely that we can start to now talk a little bit more about all of our programs. So thanks again for sharing your experience.
Thank you, Kevin. It was a real pleasure.
All right. Take care. Thanks.
Thank you. Bye.
Take care. So thanks, everybody. And again, I hope that was helpful to you. I think it's just helpful to have some perspective from somebody that's actually doing it right now, right? Who's made that transition, come here to the United States and is now pursuing their degree. What we're going to do is there's some great questions that are coming in, and we're going to make sure we leave a little bit of time at the end to handle all of those questions. So please feel free to send those. We're going to get to as many of those as we can. But I want to move into talking a little bit about all of our different programs. So you can see there's different pictures of our campus in here as well too, but the programs we're going to focus on today is our 1 MBA, our Master's in Business Analytics, our Master's in Management, Master's in Economics, Master's in Financial Engineering, and then our PhD in Business and Economics. So you heard a little bit about the 1 MBA, so I don't have to talk that much about it, but just a couple other highlights. Number one is that our MBA program requires that you have two or more years of professional work experience, and that would be like 2 years after you completed your undergraduate degree. So internships would not qualify towards those 2 years. On average in that program, students have 6 to 7 years professional work experience, but the range is really anywhere from 2 years upward that you would have students enrolled in the full-time program. We have one entry point per year for that program. As Priscilla mentioned, she's been here for a couple weeks. So we will start recruiting really in September 15th, our application will open for our 1-year MBA program, and we'll start recruiting for our June 2024 program start. As she had mentioned, it's an 11 to 13-month program. As an international student, if you're interested in exploring work opportunities in the United States, And if you have a strong quantitative background, you potentially would want to explore either our business analytics concentration or our supply chain management concentration, because those are both STEM designated. That makes the one MBA STEM designated. If you pursued something like finance, financial management, marketing, or kind of our general business concentration, the MBA would not be STEM designated. And again, if you're not familiar with STEM designation versus non-STEM designation, I would definitely encourage you to research that a little bit, because the easiest way to explain it is that, again, if you're strong quantitatively, you're interested in things like supply chain or business analytics, in essence, you potentially could work in the United States if you found a job for up to 3 years on OPT. Whereas if you're pursuing financial management or marketing, which makes the degree non-STEM, that would give you up to 1 year of eligibility in the US. So again, a good general tip for you as you're searching programs and trying to understand what your goal is figuring out STEM versus non-STEM designated programs. The other thing I'll mention with this program is that you may be saying, I don't know if a year is going to be enough for me, or a 1-year MBA typically does not have an internship in it. That would normally be a full-time 2-year MBA. Lehigh is one of the only schools that I'm aware of that allows you to potentially extend your program to 18 months. And instead of graduating in August, graduate in December, which then opens up some space for you to pursue an internship in the summer. The majority of our students will just get jobs after they finish the program in 11 or 13 months. But that is also an option too, if you're concerned about, does a 1-year program potentially feel too short for me as an international student? We're GMAT GRE optional, and I know there's some questions coming in about that, and we'll address that generally later in this presentation. And the concentration or the program ranges somewhere between 47 and 53 credits. So as Priscilla mentioned, it is a lot of credits that students are taking in a year. Okay, and that is an actual picture of our campus. We call that the classroom in the rounds, which is one of our high-tech classrooms in our new business innovation building. So I've talked enough at this point. I'm going to turn it over to Allison, and Allison's going to start to do a quick overview of some of our specialized master's programs.
And there are 5 of them, so everybody hang on with me. Starting off with our newest program is our Master's in Business Analytics. This program is full-time on campus with the option to do your summer courses online if you can't make it to us in time. Like the One MBA program, we do start in the summer. So June 2024, as you can see, would be the next incoming class. This program is 11 months. So you start with us in the summer and then you graduate in the spring. And it does require you to have less than 2 years of professional work experience. We like to think of this as one of our kind of 5th-year programs. Most of our graduates, or most of our students are basically right out of graduation from their undergraduate degree. This program is STEM designated. So like Kevin mentioned, after you graduate, you do get 3 years of OPT. It does have concentrations, so depending on what you're interested in, you take 9 core courses in the program and then 3 electives. So you can kind of center those 3 electives around a concentration, whether you're interested in marketing, supply chain, data science, or financial engineering. Or if you don't have a specific interest, you can do an elective in one of each and have no concentration. So that's up to you. And then, like Kevin mentioned, our GRE and our GMAT are optional for this program, and it's 33 credits. There are 3 prerequisites for the program: calculus, economics, and statistics. We do offer these prerequisites at Lehigh before you start in the summer, or we can kind of fit them into your program plan as well.
And I'll mention too, Allison did a great job with that. You may, if you're thinking, oh, I'm really interested in business analytics, but I have 5 years professional work experience, so you wouldn't really qualify for this program because of no more than 2 years. Your alternative would be the One MBA business analytics concentration. So we can help position you depending on which one that you're interested in. All right, Allison, how about Masters in Management? This program's a little bit different than the others.
Yes, so Masters in Management is for our non-business majors. So if you did your undergraduate degree in a non-business major, but are kind of interested in applying that degree in a business setting, this program would be for you. So it is a full-time on-campus program. It takes 9 months to complete. And you need to have less than 1 year of professional work experience. So that postgraduate, you just did finish your undergraduate degree. This is another one of our kind of 5th year programs. And it's 32 credits. And if you're thinking to yourself, oh, I'm so upset that this program is not STEM designated, you can always do a dual degree option with one of our other STEM designated programs. So if you were interested in Master's Management, but also wanted to dabble in business analytics, we could do a dual degree program for you. And then you would probably be here around a total of 2 years.
So 2 years, 2 degrees
Yes.
in essence, and that path to STEM designating it.
Correct, yes.
Good. Let's go through, and again, we're just covering the basics. We would definitely encourage people to check our website out throughout the year. We actually have some recordings on our website of the majority of the programs that you can get a deeper dive into the curriculum, and we'll have some live information sessions obviously throughout our recruiting year as well too. So how about we talk a little bit about the technically Masters in Applied Economics.
Yes, so this program is also full-time on campus. It does take around 18 to 24 months to complete. So you're here about 1.5 years, 2 years, depending on what prerequisites you have before you enter the program. And I'll get into those. The program is STEM designated. It is 30 credits, and you kind of pick between 2 tracks. After you do your core courses. So you could go into competition and market analysis or policy economics. And this program is really based on the master's curriculum, but you do have the option to go into our PhD program, to apply and go into our PhD program. There are prerequisites, as I mentioned before, that could elongate your program. It's principles of economics, intermediate, macro and microeconomics, calculus, and statistics. So there are a couple courses that you would need to complete if you did not have those already in the program. And we can kind of fit those into your program before you start your graduate classes, which is why it could take you 1.5 years to 2 years to complete.
And I'll mention too, there's some great questions coming in, and we'll definitely be addressing those at the end. So keep them coming. So this one's interesting, financial engineering, because some people may be aware of what that is. Some people may not be, but talk to us a little bit about the, as we call it, the MSFE, the Masters in Financial Engineering.
So Masters in Financial Engineering is a full-time, could be on campus or could also be synchronous online. So it is really for the full-time student, but you do have the option to be on campus or online. Those courses online are still going to be during the day, so it would be hard for a working professional to kind of complete those courses online. It is STEM designated, and it does take 2 years to complete. So it is 36 credits. We just recently added 5 credits to your capstone course at the end of the semester. And one cool aspect about it is there's actually certificates that you could get along with your degree. And it is 6 to 9 credits more than the 36 credits, but then you could have a certificate along with your financial engineering degree in specific topics. So data science and financial analytics, quantitative risk management, or financial operations and research.
Now, so let me ask you a question with this. So this is a very quantitative, probably one of our most quantitative degrees that are available. What type of undergraduate degree, sometimes it's rare to see like a financial engineering undergraduate degree, but like what types of bachelor's degrees do you typically see for people going into this program?
Sure. So our most popular is math bachelor's degree, but we also see finance, economics, and then any other engineering major that's interested in business will typically apply for financial economics.
Perfect. Yeah, we don't want to waste people's time. So like if you studied business, for example, or marketing, for example, like this program nothing against you personally, but like it would be significantly quantitative, where, not saying it's impossible, but it's pretty clear that based on what Allison said, that's really where the majority of students will typically come from, those particular fields.
Right.
And then our PhD, and I know we had some questions about coming in about funding, and we'll talk about that at the end, but we could probably talk about that here a little bit with the PhD. But why don't you talk to us a little bit about our PhD program?
Sure. So it is a full-time on-campus program. We have an intake every other year. So we do have an intake this year. The application opens up September 15th, and then you have until January 1st to submit your full completed application to be considered for the program. So it is quite of a quick turnaround for those who are interested in the program. We do only admit 6 to 9 students every other year. It is STEM designated, and it takes about 4 to 5 years to complete the program. Typically, most students complete it in 5. You are fully guaranteed funding for 4 out of those 5 years. Typically, all of our students are funded for all 5 years, but it is only guaranteed for 4. And then there's TA positions that you could apply for to fund your 5th year.
And so just to make, because I don't recruit for this program, so I always like to understand. So fully funded really means, when we're specifically talking about the PhD program in business and economics, tuition would be covered.
Correct.
For 4 years.
Yes.
Guaranteed. And then there would also be
there's a monthly stipend that you would get for 9 months to cover living expenses.
Perfect. And that would again be for the PhD program, which is a little bit different than our professional master's degrees, which we'll talk a little bit about scholarship and funding opportunities at the end about that.
Absolutely. And the last thing I want to touch on is that like Kevin mentioned with the Master's in Financial Engineering, there are some majors for the PhD program that kind of excel and are successful, and those would be in economics and mathematics. That's not to say we haven't accepted majors of other backgrounds in the past, but we've just seen success with more of that quantitative background in this program.
Great. So thanks, Allison, for the overview. And again, we're trying to keep everything within an hour today. So we would definitely encourage everybody to go to Lehigh's website, find College of Business graduate and PhD programs, do a little bit more research on each. So here's some information now as we pull back and we talk more about general information. So number one, couple takeaways that we do have a couple programs that have a spring intake. So just to reiterate that, and again, those programs would be our Master's in Applied Economics and our Master's in Financial Engineering. Those are really the 2 full-time programs that have a spring 2024 start. That application will actually be opening, and again, just for spring, that application will likely be opening around August 15th. If you're interested in one of those 2 programs and actually interested in applying for a spring 2024 start, you go into the application, it is going to prompt you for an application fee waiver. What we're going to ask you to do is, before you submit the application for one of those spring program starts, if you just email business@lehigh.edu, again, I'll repeat that, business@lehigh.edu, request an application fee waiver. We will get back to you usually within 1 or 2 business days with a fee waiver code, and that will cover the cost of normally it's a $75 application fee. For the students that are interested in the 1 MBA program, the Master's in Management, the Master's in Business Analytics, really any of the other programs, right? Or including economics, and also including any of the spring starts, but you're thinking maybe starting in the fall. We have a new application that will be going live on September 15th. That will not even prompt you for an application fee waiver. So our application is free. You do just have to work around that a little bit, depending on if you are going to be applying to a spring program. Again, these are general application items for all of our programs. So it's an application. It's an essay, and I would encourage everybody to take their time on the essay and make it as personalized as possible, because the essay really is your opportunity to tell us about you and tell us a little bit about your story and your background. We ask that you upload a resume. We ask that you upload, not upload, but you're going to have to put in 2 recommenders. Ideally, this would be professional recommendations for the master's programs. So this could be a supervisor, a former supervisor. We don't want friends, family. We want people that can really speak to your abilities in the workplace. If you're coming out of a program like right out of undergrad, then obviously maybe an internship supervisor or a academic reference, a professor would be fine. For the PhD program, the academic references would probably make a little bit more sense there, but you could do like 1 academic reference, 1 professional reference, but it would be 2 letters of recommendation. And the way that that works is that you will put the people's names and their email addresses into our application, and then that will be, a message will be pushed out to them automatically that then they need to do certain things, follow directions, and submit that directly to Lehigh rather than through you at all. So you really just let your recommenders know that they're going to be getting an email from us, and then you put their information in, and then that part will get taken care of. We do need official transcripts, and what I'll mention is for the application process, you don't need officials at this point. If you have transcripts that are in English, that have obviously your college or university name and logo on it, that typically is enough for us to review to make an admission decision. It's important for us that we need to see all transcripts. So we're not worried about like high school or anything like that. We're specifically worried about anywhere that you went to college or university. Even if it's another master's degree, or if you went to multiple schools for your undergraduate degree, you need to just upload that. If for some reason your transcript would not be in English, you could reach out to us. There's different options like World Education Services. There's transcription service or transcribing services that are out there. But my guess is the majority of you have transcripts in English. So the process should be relatively easy for you to upload these into our application. Generally, just because we don't want to waste anybody's time, Lehigh is a competitive school. We're generally looking at candidates with a 3.0 or above on a 4.0 scale. That's kind of the US standard. So if you're on like a 5-point scale, you can search online to see kind of where your grade potentially might fall. But for us, 3.0 on a 4.0 scale is kind of what we're looking for. If you're below a 3.0, to be honest, like your odds of getting accepted are going to be a little bit more challenging. And we definitely would say a GMAT or GRE would be required if your GPA is below that specific standard. We also have English language proficiency that we're going to touch on here in a moment, and we've created a lot more flexibility with that. So for many of you, prior, you may have been required to submit some additional information. You will not, the process will be much easier. Let me put it that way, and we'll tell you about it in a minute. And again, GMAT, GRE optional. If I always say, when Allison and I talk, we always say there's certain candidates, if you had like a, I don't know what you would call it, like if you had to stereotype somebody that might need to take a GMAT or GRE, the first candidate is somebody that just hasn't had a lot of quantitative work, hasn't had any sort of math or statistics or calculus or finance. We just don't have any way to assess from your transcript if you'd be okay quantitatively or not. So generally, that would be a candidate to take a GMAT or GRE. The other candidate is somebody that, for whatever reason, maybe they were in accounting or finance, but their GPA really is not indicative of how good they could be as a student. Let's say they're below that 3.0 threshold, then a GMAT or GRE would be helpful to kind of show us some evidence that they'd be more than okay in our program. And then the third candidate is somebody that's really trying to put the strongest, most complete application forward. They want to they're a good test taker. Maybe they've taken the GMAT or the GRE, and they just think that could benefit them as an applicant. I'll be super honest that the majority of our applicants do not submit a GMAT or GRE. But again, if you fall into one of those potential buckets, that, that potentially would be some general advice about how you could decide if a GMAT or GRE made sense for you. And again, we talked a little bit about when those deadlines are. Allison, do you want to tag team on this a little bit with English proficiency? Because I think a lot of the candidates are probably going to fall under pathway 2 here, correct?
Correct.
But why don't you just cover pathway 1 and pathway 2?
Sure. So pathway 1 for English language proficiency is if you had at least 75% of your instruction for a 4-year undergraduate degree or a 2-year graduate degree in English, and you're from a country, let me start over.
Yeah.
I apologize.
This is new, right?
Yes.
You guys are our first group that we're actually talking to this about.
Okay, so pathway 1. If you have successful completion of an undergraduate degree from an accredited college or university where the primary medium of instruction was in English, and at least 75% of that degree occurred in a country on Lehigh's College of Business country or territory list, which you can find on our website.
Yeah.
Or you have successful completion of a 2-year graduate degree from an accredited college or university, and the primary medium was taught in English, and the instruction for this degree occurred on that same country or territory list, you would generally not have to take a language proficiency test.
So some quick examples of that would be, and again, I think we're going to talk more about pathway 2, because I think that's where the majority of you would fall. But let's say, for example, one of you pursued a bachelor's degree in the United States, or a bachelor's degree in England or Canada or Australia as examples. These are countries on our country territory list that you would not need to show any more language proficiency than that. As we talk about pathway 2, you'll see a list of countries here. So let's go through that first. So countries such as India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, Kenya, Zimbabwe, Botswana, South Africa, Ghana, Nigeria, etc., that you can see on that list. I'm not going to read it to you verbatim. So if you completed an undergraduate degree where at least 75% of that instruction was in one of those countries, and the reason we use 75% is, let's say you studied in Nigeria for a 4-year degree, but 2 of those years maybe there was some partnership where you were in China for 2 years, and I'm obviously just making that up right now. China would be a non-English speaking country as a primary language, so you wouldn't meet the 75% threshold. So the majority of students will, right? Like most people aren't in a program like that. So if you really attended one of those in one of those schools for your undergraduate degree, or let's say you did a bachelor's degree in China, but then you did a master's degree in India or in South Africa or Nigeria, again, you would qualify for English language proficiency. We would just need you to do 1 or 2 other things. And that's where you get to the bottom part of this list, where the most likely outcome for somebody who studied in Ghana or Nigeria would be that when they apply, they would include a letter, or on their transcript, it would say that all of my courses were taught in English, or my degree program was taught in English. That would check off one of these boxes as far as meeting 2 of these requirements. The second option that we think is going to be the most common is then to request a Zoom interview with our admissions staff. So that would circumvent you from having to take a Duolingo exam. That would circumvent you from having to go through any sort of intensive English program. And I see some questions coming in about what about certain countries? This is not an inclusive list. So I can't comment today and say, okay, yes, this country or no, this country, but we will evaluate that as your application comes in, and then we will kind of let you know. But again, if you have that documentation that your degree was taught in English, and the country is primarily, whether an official language is in English, it's worth it, because the worst case scenario might be, look, we may say, look, we need you for whatever reason, you don't qualify, we need you to take a Duolingo exam. And to be honest, a lot of times in that situation, we may have the ability to pay for that Duolingo exam for you. So that potentially could be an option. There's a question that came in I just want to address real quick. Augustine had said, can we also submit an English proficiency letter from our universities. Yes, that probably should be okay. I mean, ideally, we need some evidence showing that the degree was in English or that all degrees at the university are in English, but that would be fine if you didn't have that. We would definitely take that into consideration and evaluate it. So that's a very good question. So the nice thing is a lot of programs out there, as you do your research, you may see some of them may require you to take a TOEFL or an IELTS, some of them may not. We feel like we have one of the more flexible policies out there to just be more inclusive and representative of where English is spoken in today's world. So hopefully that's something too, when you look at potential barriers to applying to programs, an application fee can be a barrier. In addition to that, English proficiency exams can be a barrier as well too. So the last thing we want to talk about before we go through and try to handle a couple questions is scholarship opportunities, right? That's an important piece to how you potentially could fund this. Allison, do you want to go through that a little bit and I can chime in?
So Lehigh University offers merit-based scholarships. So it is not a separate application to apply for scholarship. When you submit an application to your program of interest, you will automatically be considered for any scholarship based on your application. So your undergraduate academic record, the strength of your application, whether or not you submit a GMAT or a GRE. So I know for one MBA, there's 2 tiers of scholarships.
Yep.
So the first tier, which could range from partial to full tuition scholarship, that tier requires you to take a GMAT or GRE.
Correct. Yeah. And with I would say generally, the easiest thing to do is if you go on each one of our scholarship pages,
Right.
you'll be able to find pretty clearly about the different programs that are going to be offered. The MBA program, it is our highest cost program, but because it really requires some work experience, there is a decent ability. A lot of our students, to be honest, probably over 90% of our students in the one MBA program receive some form of scholarship. Just so you're aware. That doesn't mean everybody gets a full scholarship, but we do have candidates on full scholarship and we have candidates on partial scholarship, which is really the same for a lot of our programs, right?
That is correct. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So, right. So all of our students have the opportunity to get partial or full tuition scholarships. We get questions a lot about graduate assistantships. Unfortunately, our graduate students do not typically do graduate assistantships. There are only a handful that are available all across Lehigh University, so not specific to the College of Business. But if you were interested in that, it is a separate application through our Graduate Education and Life website. So you can go on there, and typically those graduate assistantships are posted the June before the year that you're interested in. So say you're applying for fall 2024, those positions will be posted the June of 2024. And sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Just as we mentioned previously, this our PhD program is excluded from these tuition scholarships because it is fully funded for all of our PhD students.
Allison, thanks. And to recap that real quick, because that will give us about 10 minutes then where we can go through a bunch of questions. For me, the biggest things are, number one, there's really, for the majority of our scholarship programs, no separate application process, as Allison had mentioned. So it is not based on financial need, because we would have no way to know that, and we don't take that into consideration. It is purely going to be based on how strong your application is, and we really look at things holistically. So we want to see strong prior academics, strong progressive work experience, strong essay, really everything. And again, why GMAT or GREs can be helpful sometimes, again, to be honest, like the majority of our applicants, when you look at our programs, are not submitting a GMAT or GRE. So while it's not, it could help some people, it's not essential for kind of the everyday applicant to take a GMAT or GRE. The other thing I'll mention too, Allison talked about that work requirement or graduate assistantships. There is the potential sometimes to work on campus, but Priscilla had talked about it too, and she said, like, you know, it's a 1-year program, or a lot of our programs may be 1 year or a year and a half, and you're very busy. There could be opportunities to work on campus 5 hours a week or 10 hours a week at the help desk or food services or things like that. So you kind of need to be aware of that. And again, I would also say, because all of you may be looking at different programs, go to our website to be able to see each program's scholarship page. Kenneth actually asked a great question. Does the school support Empower loans? We do. So if you go on all of our scholarship pages, you'll see links at the bottom. It'll actually say like financial aid for international students. And we have links there to Empower Finance and to Prodigy. We are approved through both of those programs. And while I can't endorse either of those, we definitely have had students, graduate students in the College of Business, use both of those to help support the cost of their education while they're here at Lehigh. So what I'm going to do, Allison, I'm going to run through as many questions as I can, because there were some really good ones that came in. Let me see how many I can address here quick. So go ahead. Okay, so we're good. So let's see, I can't answer like individual questions like would I be a good candidate or would I qualify for something like that. Let me just see here real quick. Can I qualify for business analytics if my undergrad was in accounting?
Yes, our business analytics program is for our business majors and anybody, all majors who are interested in pursuing business analytics.
And Godsway had asked, he called me Dr. Kevin, which I am not. I appreciate that. I don't have my doctorate, unfortunately, but he had said I completed my degree in 2013, 7 years work experience. My first degree is in accounting. Am I qualified for the financial engineering program?
Yes, so our financial engineering program does not have any professional work experience cap or requirement, excuse me. So you would definitely be able to be qualified for financial engineering.
That program, again, we would just have to take a look to see based on what courses you had previously, because accounting may not be a normal pathway into that, but it's possible. You know, we just have to look closely at what classes you've had. Somebody had the same question. They studied economics. Can they do the MBA in business analytics? And the answer is yes. Studying economics, specializing in international business. The MBA is broad. So as long as you have the 2 years professional work experience, you could study history. I had somebody study music before and go through the MBA program. So you have that as an option. And again, it's just going to be the work experience. 2 or more years would be what we're looking for. Let me just see what else we have here real quick. So we covered the application fee waiver. Again, if you're applying for a spring program, which is economics or financial engineering, please email business@lehigh.edu and they can give you a fee waiver. For any of the other programs that would start in summer 24 or fall 24, that application will open September 15th. And then at that point, you will not have to need a fee waiver. It will just not charge you an application. Robert had asked, do the recommenders have to use their corporate email address? No, that's actually a good question. It's definitely not required. But as long as it's their email address and obviously not your email address. But if they're willing to do that, that's fine, but it doesn't necessarily make a difference for us. Tony had asked, is scholarship or funding available for MS and applied economics for spring of 2024? Yes, we do offer scholarship opportunities, whether you're starting in the spring for certain programs or for the summer or the fall. So that's definitely possible. Mohammed had asked, can I use my unofficial West transcript? Yes, if you have a West course by course evaluation done previously, you can upload that to get an admission decision. We eventually would need you to request that West official transcript to be sent at Lehigh, and there would be a small charge to you for that. But at least you would know at that point, have I been admitted? Were there any scholarship opportunities? All really good questions so far.
I got one.
Go ahead.
That says, excuse me. Can someone apply for the PhD program directly with a bachelor's degree? The answer to that is yes. If you're coming to us with a master's degree, the number of credits is 48 to complete the program. But if you're coming to us with a bachelor's degree and no master's, it is 72 credits to complete the program.
Good. Let me see, there's a lot of different questions here. Again, I would encourage people, somebody asked about more information for the one MBA program. Like I said, if you go to our program pages, you'll see something that says events or recordings. Where not all of our programs have them yet, but a number of our programs have recordings available where you can go a little bit more deeper into the curriculum and into the experience of each program. So I would definitely encourage people to do that. And also check out our website for live events, as we're literally just starting our recruiting cycle really with this event. So check out our website for those live events that you can be registered for. Here somebody said, I've started my application. This is Oluwasun, and I apologize if I mispronounced that. I started my application, but I intended to apply for the spring of 24. Do I have to wait till the 15th to continue? So the answer is yes. And that would be, if you're thinking of a spring start for financial engineering or for economics, it will be August 15th for the spring application. So if you can just wait a few more days, that will get turned on the 15th. In the meantime, email business@lehigh.edu and we can get you an application fee waiver. That's a really good question. So Allison, I don't know if you know this question, but I have an answer to it, how we can get there. Kenneth had asked, can you speak about the sponsored projects for financial engineering?
Okay, so the sponsored projects, excuse me, I have a tickle in my throat. So the sponsored projects for financial engineering are, you work with Professor Zoro, who is the director of the MFE program, and local companies who come to us asking us for Lehigh graduate students to participate in their real world issues in their company. So they'll come to us with these projects. You'll work with either solo or with 2 or 3 other students on these projects. And this is really outside of the curriculum. And Professor Zoro is really looking for motivated people to do these projects. So if you come to him and say, tell me about the sponsored projects, he'll definitely get you on those projects and involved in those things.
And I'll say with the financial engineering, if you go to that Lehigh's financial engineering website, Professor Zora has a lot of different podcasts out there where I'm sure he covers a lot of these topics. So he's really a subject matter expert in that area. So check out his podcast, check out the financial engineering website. There's a lot of good information on there. Let me see, I think we're right at 2 o'clock, so I might have time for 1 or 2 other questions. Somebody had asked about the HND degree, and I am not an expert in that right off the spot. Allison, you got a question about that too? My understanding of the higher national diploma is, I'm not sure that is equal to a bachelor's degree. We would have to kind of take a look and see, but my understanding is that, and I may not be 100% correct, but I think that might be more like an associate degree here in the United States. So generally what I can tell you is that to pursue graduate studies in the United States, it normally would be a bachelor's or undergraduate degree, which is typically representative of a 4-year educational experience. So if you're not sure, we would determine that in the application process. You could also email that specific question to business@lehigh.edu, and we could definitely take a look at that.
Yeah, and I think if worse comes to worse, applying with a WES evaluation is kind of the best way to determine that as well. They will tell you exactly if your degree is equivalent to an associate or a bachelor's degree.
Yeah, and we'll do 2 more questions because I know we're at time, but you have some really good questions. Somebody had asked here, can I qualify for a MSc management with a background on agriculture extension and management and more than 4 years professional work experience? Again, we'd have to look at what that diploma is that you have to see if it meets the criteria or not, but it would have to be you have technically 4 years of experience, which means that would have to be the MBA program more than likely, because the master's in management is kind of a 1-year non-business degree, undergraduate degree thing. So there's pathways. It's just kind of figuring out which program is going to make the most sense for you. And we'll redirect people sometimes as they go through the application process if they apply to one, but they don't meet that criteria for something. And real quick, let me just see, we'll take one more question. Let me just see here. Trying to pick, they're all good questions, but okay, here's one for the PhD program. Do I need to submit publications and proposals for the PhD program? What I would generally say is for the PhD program, which is super selective, you want to submit as much as you can to make a completed application. So what I would say is you don't need to submit the actual publications, but if you can cite those publications on your resume or on your CV is probably going to look a little bit different than like a professional resume, right? With potential work experience. I wouldn't say you need to provide the entire publication, but have it there. So if we needed to go find it, or, you know, I think that's important to obviously include in that, but just be selective how you do it. And I would say don't overwhelm us by adding all these different things, but clearly call that out that, you know, you've been published before and that you have publications available if they wanted to see it. And I'll say for all candidates, in our application, there's an additional materials text box, and that's very open-ended. So you could use that potentially to address what you think are maybe concerns with your application, maybe address a lower GPA or something that you specifically want to call out. And in that particular circumstance, you could also use that to say, look, I'm happy to make my publications available to you if that's something that you're interested in the review process. Allison, any final thoughts before we wrap up today?
I just think there's a lot of great questions, and if you're interested in getting more knowledge, please look at our website. You can email business@lehigh.edu for any questions that you need us to answer. And just thank you so much for joining us today, and we hope we helped you in your journey just a little bit.
Yeah, it's been fun. A super packed hour with great questions, and again, hopefully gave you some things to think about as you go through your MBA and specialized master's search. We're here as a resource for you, so feel free to attend those events. Those are usually the best way that you can engage with us. And again, spring application for financial engineering and economics opens in 5 days on August 15th. And then our other programs that start in the summer of 24 or the fall of 24, PhD program, 1 MBA, Master's in Management, Master's in Business Analytics, Financial Engineering for the fall, Economics for the fall. I think I got everything. Those open September 15th. And again, for any PhD applicants, you have the shortest window really from September 15th to January 1st is your window to apply for our fall 2024 PhD start. Thanks again. Hopefully we get to see some of you here at Lehigh, whether it's for spring semester or for summer or fall. You've been a phenomenal group. Thanks for sticking with us through the hour, and we look forward to continue engaging with you beyond this event. Hope you have a great day. Bye-bye.